Have you ever thought about selling your house and wondered what you have to do to get it ready before you put it on the market? Well, stay tuned. I'm going to tell you a few things you might want to consider before you do that. In my experience working with sellers who want to sell their home, I have people who've asked me in to give them advice on what should they do before they list it, which I love because it gives me an opportunity to get in there, have a conversation, start a dialogue, and just look at the property and just say, okay, I see what's here. I like what you have to work with. What are your goals? Because it's different for everybody. There are some people who they need to move for reasons beyond their control. They've got a timeline and the house is in great condition or it could be in not so great condition. They may or may not have the time to work on things. I have some people, it's just like, I need it gone yesterday. And I have other people say, well, we're not going to move out for at least a year to a year and a half. So again, everybody's situation is different. And I get that. But this is why we have the conversations, because I need to know, what are your goals here? What is driving you? What is impeding you? What are we going to do to make this thing work out well? So let me tell you some stories. My favorites are the people where I can go over, they can show me the property, have a look, I can make some suggestions about, simple things like painting, doing minor repairs, touch-ups, even recommend some people to do this work to them. And if people do that, what we want to do is make the house look its best, make sure it doesn't have any major problems that are going to be gotchas during the home inspection, and just present the property in the best light possible so that it sells for the quickest, for the best amount of money. And oddly enough, you might think that those two are mutually exclusive. They are not. If you have a house that looks good and it's been taken care of, it will present well, it will photograph well, and it will bring an offer the quickest, and those are usually for the best money. So sometimes you run into a house it's got issues, and the person doesn't have the wherewithal or the time to address all those issues. I get it. People live in their houses. People live in different ways. And I'm not here to make everything a gem. If that's what you want, we can have that conversation. But if you are moving on with your life and just need to be done with it, we can have that conversation as well. I had one recently where the house actually on first blush looked really, really good. There are a few minor cosmetic things, but nothing huge about it. And the owner was very convinced, and had me convinced really, that he took care of everything. Any problem that cropped up, he took care of it right away. Well, I was okay with that until a buyer came to look at the house and fell through the deck. Because while it didn't look that bad, apparently one of the boards had rotted and they went through. Fortunately, they weren't hurt too terribly. But I tell you, these are situations that keep me up at night. Anyway, that all had to get fixed, and the seller had to be convinced that, yes, maybe the place isn't so perfect, because in addition to that, our first set of buyers that came through, they did a home inspection, and there were some things that were hidden from me. Maybe the seller knew about it, maybe he didn't. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but these were things that needed to be taken care of. Things like the panel box, the water heater, the air handler that was in the crawl space. Again, and the deck, of course. There were a few minor issues with the roof. Again, none of these were showstoppers, and they could have been easily taken care of. But it took a little bit of convincing to get this seller to realize that his house was not this cream puff, this gem that was absolutely flawless, and to address these issues. And these are the kinds of things that I like to have conversations about, so that if you really are looking for the most money, that you're willing to do what needs to be done to make that happen. Understand that it's great when you get the offer and we've got it under contract, but the very first thing that's going to happen, at least in our market, is that buyer's going to want to do a home inspection. And this is why you do it, is because the inspectors are going to scratch a little bit and find things that you might not see on first look. So there is that. But again, these are things that have to be addressed if there's serious issues like the rotting board on the deck. They got replaced pretty quickly, and others that were suspect at the time. So that was taken care of. and we put it back on the market, and we now have it under contract again. So no surprises there. But we can price any property appropriately. In an earlier video, I talked about working with buyers and showing a house that on the outside looked good. Once you got inside, there was a tremendous amount of cosmetic work that it needed, yet it was priced appropriately, and whoever buys it, it's going to take a savvy buyer to do it, but whoever buys it is going to end up with a good deal at the end of the day. So again, on the seller side, you have to know what your needs are. Why are you selling? What are you willing to do to get the house ready? And these are conversations that you can have with an agent, because we've done this a lot. And again, I like to work with people that are honest and open and let me know, what their goals are, and are just as equally honest and open to receiving feedback as far as what the property would need to hit at what price point and what would make it more attractive for the least amount of input. Because again, sellers have the same problem that buyers do, is that you look at the house, you've been living in it, and you say, oh, it needs all this stuff. And you get easily overwhelmed by that. I like to go in, work with the seller and say, okay, let's break it down. What do you think it needs? Let me look it over. I'll share with you what I think it needs, and we'll talk about these things. And if you're going to take care of everything, wonderful. We'll take the pictures, we'll price it appropriately. And if not, if you don't want to deal with these things, again, we'll take the pictures and we'll price it appropriately and get it sold for you. But that's what I do. These are some things you want to keep in mind as a seller, is just to reiterate, is know why you're selling, know what you're willing to do, and understand that what you're selling might be the greatest thing in your mind because it's your house, but it is a commodity as far as buyers are concerned, and they're comparing what you have and your price with everything else out there that is of similar value. So hope this helps. If it did, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you heard something that you didn't agree with. I'd love to hear your viewpoint. This is how we get a dialogue going, and this helps me to get the feedback from you. So once again, thanks for tuning in. This is Tom saying happy house hunting.